Hi, I'm Corey. Welcome to Creating with Scraps. This will be the first video in a short series of Stamperia Forest, and actually that brings me to my first point. I've heard it pronounced recently both ways, Stamperia and Stamperia, so I honestly don't know which is the correct way to say it, but there you go. Whichever it is, this is the paper that I will be using, and I'm using the 12 by 12, but I also have the same thing in the 8 by 8 pad, and I'll be making a smaller album at the same time. It'll be the same concept, but just with the smaller paper. Right, so I do not have it complete, but I have the concept done, and I want to show you where we're starting and then where we're going from there. It is a canvas covered 9 by 6 by 2 cereal box. Now you don't have to use cereal box. You can certainly use, any chipboard that you want, but it worked really well, and it's a heavier weight canvas. This particular configuration, this is Stamperia Forest, and this is just some cardstock. This is a Tracy Fox label, and this is a die cut I had. You can use pieces from the kit, from the paper itself, fussy cut it, to do the same thing. But I saw this layout configuration on a post on Pinterest a couple years ago, and I sketched it out, and I did not give credit to who had this, so I apologize to whoever it was that did this really cool image, pocket, label thing. But anyway, that's where I got the idea. So simple canvas covered. I used a magnetic closure, and on this one, instead of doing more of a commonly seen junk journal, I did envelopes. And the reason I did this is because I really want, this paper is so beautiful that I want people to use it in a way that makes the most sense to them. So this format works with any style, any person's interest. If you are wanting to make this a memory book, you can use the envelopes and put inserts inside that have room for pictures and memorabilia and such regarding maybe your favorite lakes or mountains or trips or something. If you wanted to use it as a journal, the envelopes are the same, but you can just put notepads inside, and you can break it down 1 notepad a week or 1 notepad a month, or however you choose to do it. Or if you just want a little bit of memorabilia and some journaling, whichever way, because they're envelopes and because they're a little bit thicker, you can make this work for your needs. It'll work for any style, any person's choice. And that's why I did it. So I used a 12.5 inch, or no, try that again, Corey, a 12.5 ounce, 12.5 ounces cereal box for mine. And I did that because the spine was exactly 2 inches, which is what I wanted for here, because I wanted to include 5 envelopes. Because if I were going to use this for a month long, it would be 5 weeks in a month. Or if I were going to use it as a memory keeper type thing, it would be 5 of my favorite mountains or lakes or that type of a thing. So that was my rationale. Canvas, because the paper is so pretty, I wanted to keep the cover really simple. On the inside, there is, again, canvas covered. There's a tuck pocket on the side and a pocket on the front. And this, bits of lace, were just scrap lace that I had. And this label is from the kit itself. So here you go. So 5 envelopes. All the envelopes are the same exact size. And I didn't glue them closed because I wanted to show you what I did on the inside. So this is just a piece of Tyvek. It's a Tyvek envelope, and it looked something like this from the bottom piece. It's like 11 by 14 or something. And I just cut 1-inch strips. And the reason I did this is this Tyvek stuff is super, super strong. And because this is cardstock and I sewed it in, and the other one I'm going to use a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. I use the machine because I like to, but it works the same exact way with a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. I suppose you could use a 3-hole too for that matter, but it just reinforces it. And I wanted you to see that, which is why I didn't glue it. So I made the envelope, put the Tyvek strip on here to make it stronger so it won't tear out of my book, and then we'll just close it. After we put the closure on, we'll glue it down and close it so that you can put in and out any kind or size of booklet you want. Like I said, it can be a flip book, it can be just a little notebook, however you need it to work for you. And so the 5 envelopes are the same size, same concept. With the 2-inch spine, I put 1 envelope in the middle at the 1 inch, and then I went out a 1/3 inch each So they're each about a 1/3 inch apart. So there's a lot of room because I tend to make things chunky. And so you can put a little chunky packet in here. And that's why I put a little bit of a, not a gusset, but a little bit of space, a 1/4 inch space here, so that you can put something a little bit thicker in here and it would still close. So that's the way that works. So the front is the envelopes themselves are all made with 5 of the papers from the Stamperia Forest paper pack. And then on the backs, what I did is I used coffee dyed tracing paper for the pockets and pieces on the back, as well as cutouts from the kit. So this particular book is going to be made using the Stamperia Forest coffee dyed tracing paper, the canvas, and this text paper, brown bag text paper, but you can use any craft paper. I like the weight on this one. It's a 70-pound weight, so it's a little bit thicker than a regular paper bag, but not as thick as cardstock, and thicker still than, say, the brown paper that comes in a roll that you can use in a butcher shop or for painting or that kind of a thing. So it's a really good weight, but any craft colored paper cardstock will work just fine. And that's basically what I'm going to use. This paper, the cardstock I just showed you is what I used to make these closure rings, and then a bit of twine to close it up. So the first envelope has 3 pockets on the back, and it's got a full tuck envelope again out of that. Does it have 4? It has 4. I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Again, coffee dyed tracing paper and a cutout from the packet. All right. So that's envelope 1. Envelope 2 has a large corner tuck spot in the back, and then a pocket in front of the tuck spot. And we're going to put a little notepad for writing underneath here. So that's the second envelope. The envelopes are all the same on the inside, and we're going to put different things on the inside, or you can put the same thing either way, but I'll give you that option when we build it. The third one has a belly band in the back, a full-size belly band, and 2 pockets on top of the belly bands. The fourth envelope is all about memorabilia or pockets, and there's actually 13 pockets on this one. And I thought it would be really great if you had little tags and labels and like maybe some nature, flora, fauna, leaves or things that you had saved from maybe your favorite lake or forest. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And you can put things that you can use to embellish your journaling, or you can put ephemera in there, you can put small photos. The options are limitless, but it just has a lot of different pockets. And then the last one has a tuck spot on the side, a large tuck spot, so that you could even put like an additional little notebook if you'd like, and a pocket on the back, and then a side pocket with a cutout from that piece from the kit, excuse me. And then the back is just little scraps of lace. I used a little bit of lace in the front, and I used just scraps literally from my bin, my scrap bin of lace bits, and I just kind of layered them on the edge and sewed them together. And I'm really pleased with the way it looks because I like the bits of lace with the nature colors and the forest. Now, so this is what we're going to be doing. Today, I am just going to give you the dimensions on how I cut the 5 envelopes. And I'll show you both the 8x8 size and this 12x12 size that we cut down. And then the next video, I'll show you how I put the closure on, and then each of the different 5 pockets. So that'll be a little bit longer video, and it might be in a week or so. And then the following video will be to do the cover. And then I'll show you the different inserts that we can choose to put inside. And you can, like I said, make them a style that works best for you and your needs. But I'll show those all. So hopefully not too terribly long before this is done. But I will show you first the dimensions that I used to make these particular envelopes. Okay? All right. That's my prototype, and then this is the one that we'll be making together. And so I had started and made 4 of the envelopes. And you can see that I haven't glued them, and I haven't put the Tyvek in here. I haven't inked them. I haven't put the closures on. So we will do that together, but you don't need to see me do that 4 times. I'll just do it. I've got 4 of them ready, and I'm choosing to use this particular paper for the 5th one. And the way, and I didn't grab a paper trimmer. Well, hang on 1 second. You can look at the pretty paper while I grab a trimmer. All right. The only cut that I need to make on this particular paper is I'm cutting it, the height from top to bottom down to 9 inches. So I'm going to turn it sideways. I'm retaining the 12-inch, sorry, the cord got in the way. I'm retaining the 12-inch width, but I want my height to be at 9 inches. And I'm going to use that scrap in another piece that we're doing. So I'm going to measure here and cut off 3 inches, and I'll put that aside because I will absolutely use that. All right, so 9 inches. It's 9 inches tall and 12 inches wide. And I'm going to grab my scoreboard. I wrote it down on my little notebook. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I've got the little cheat sheet. So the materials list, what I used for it, and then the dimensions for where I'm scoring this. All right, when you're scoring this for your envelopes, the outside of your envelope is face down. So I want this really cool fox. He's going to be on the back because of the way we fold it, but I want this to be the inside and the fox to be the outside. So the outside is face down. And your first score is at 3 1/8. So I'm scoring the width, basically. The top of my page, the one I want to be at the top of my envelope, is face down, facing correctly, right? And I'm scoring on the 12-inch length right now. So I'm going to score at 3 1/8. And then I'm going to fold that over, because I find it easier to do it this way. That's just my own personal preference. I'm going to fold it over, and then I'm going to score again at 5 1/2, because I've already folded it, so that would be 8 and something. I don't remember, but I'm scoring it at 5 1/2, and again at 5 3/4, and that's going to give me my little bit of a dimension in the back in case I make it. Well, let's just be honest, when I make this a chunky little insert. So if I've got lots of pictures or if I've got lots of writing space, so it's going to be folded something like this. So you've got a 1/4 inch here, and this where you're going to put your Tyvek is flat. All right. So I've got the first 3 score lines: 3 1/8, folded up, 5 1/2, 5 3/4. Then I'm going to turn it so that I'm scoring on the 9-inch side. It doesn't matter which is the top and which is the bottom on this, because you're doing the same score twice. And it's 9 inches. So I'm going to score it at 8 1/2. Now you can go down to the 1/2 inch and score here. I just simply find it easier to flip it around and score it again at 8 1/2. You do what works best for you. I just find that a little bit easier. And that's all the scoring we're going to do with this. Now I've got this piece, and we're going to cut, sorry, putting that away out of the way. We're going to cut for the envelope. And sometimes it's easier to see on one side or the other. This one, I chose a lighter piece of paper so I could show you. But you're going to want to use the places you scored as your cut guide. If you look at this one, you can see to make this envelope with the folds, where I creased, where I scored, I'm cutting out a little bit from each of 4 sections. So I'm going to cut off 4 different sections. Do not cut all the way across, because you want this flat to go down to make your envelope fold. You want to be able to tuck your insert inside that. So I cut bottom right, bottom left, top right, top left. And you cut. On one side, you've got 2 score lines, remember? So you cut into the second score line. Okay? So you've got the bottom score and the inside score, and you use your larger scissors or your straight edge. You can use your trimmer if you choose, and you cut, make sure I'm not doing this wrong because of the light. You cut to the second score, the inside score. And of course, because I'm on camera, I can't cut. There we go. Okay, so I cut out one little rectangle from the bottom right. Now I'm going to do the bottom left, but there's only one score line over here. So I'm only cutting to that first score line. So I'm cutting just to the outside edge of where I scored along the bottom. And then I'm cutting just to the outside edge, I'm hoping you can see that, of where I scored here. All right, so I've taken out the bottom left and the bottom right sections. And I've got a 1/2 inch piece in the middle. I'm going to do the same thing with the top. I guess that's the top. Yeah, it's the top. I'm going to cut to my score line. And I'm going to cut again just on the outside of that score line. And I tore it. Good job, Cora. Okay, so I've cut out the top right. So I've cut out 3 of my 4 sections. And again, this is the one with 2 score lines, so I'm going to cut to the second score line. And again, just on the inside edge of that. And here. Now I'm going to save these scraps because this is me and I love scraps, but we will use these later in the pieces that we put inside of our journal. So I'm going to put those to the side. All right, and now I have something that looks like this. Now, you can use your bone folder at this point and fold all your pieces in to get nice crisp score lines. And I don't usually do it on the one that has this gusset or this wider bit, because I don't want it to be super sharp right now, so I'm going to leave that one alone. But I definitely want these to be super sharp, so I'm going to fold this and give it a press, fold this and press it, and fold this and press it. Now you will notice when you open these and close these, what happens is these flaps get worn. So I cut them down at an angle so that they're not in the way. I'm not increasing the bulk and I'm not getting them in the way. And there's 4 corners. Those 4 little are those 2 flaps that are where you're going to make your envelope fold. I'm going to cut a small triangle, and it doesn't need to be very big. Cut a small triangle off each one of those. It just folds and lays a little bit nicer when you're closing your envelope, I find. And that's that piece. Okay, so I've cut off those 4 little bits. Sorry for the loud bang, the glass mats underneath there. And then I like a rounded corner on where my envelopes are going to close. So I'm going to use the 1/4 inch corner rounder, but you can use, if you like a bigger corner, you can do that too. I'm going to chomp those corners. And I do the same thing for all 5 pieces. All right. And this is the base of our 5 envelopes that are going to hold the inserts for our Stamperia Forest Journal. It's going to be just like that. Then, if you choose to, and I'll have it done by the time we come in next time, I'm just going to take one of the pieces of Tyvek that I cut, and I'm going to trim it to size. This just happened to be the size of my envelope, and I'm going to make it just a little bit smaller because it's not going to show. Because when I'm done, after I've sewn this in to my journal, this is going to be glued. This will be glued in. It'll be nice and strong. It won't tear. And this will be glued closed. So you're never going to see it. I only left it unglued for the other one so that it didn't get in the way. And I'm not going to use this glue because I haven't primed it. I will use this one. Okay. And then I'm just going to put, some art glitter glue, some barely there glue, some... you know what? You could even use glue stick on this because you're going to sew it. Whether you're using a pamphlet stitch or a machine stitch, you're going to sew it. So it's not going to show. All right, I glue that down. And that is going to help me prevent my envelope insert from tearing when I use it heavily, taking things in and out. And you can see I made it just a smidge long, so I'll go trim that. I don't want that to stick out. All right, and that is that. That's all we're doing for today. So 5 of these, and next time we'll put the different pockets on the back and we'll put the closure on the front. Okay, so if you're just here for Stamperia Forest, thank you. That's what we're doing. That's today's video. Now, I had some people ask questions in the last video, and I wanted to answer those questions now. So I'm going to move all this stuff out of the way and hopefully try to answer those questions. Just have to grab one thing. I put it somewhere that I wouldn't forget, and nope, not that one. Ah, here it is. Okay. Okay, let's see. And I put it all in here like this to make it easy so that you could see what I was talking about. Okay, one of the questions I got was, how do you fill all these little bits and pieces here? How do you fill the glue bottle, the little glue bottle, because they were not having luck with it? Well, I used not the barely there glue. I don't use that. I've never tried it. I don't know what it's like, honestly. I really like the reptile glue, and this bottle is almost gone. So what I do, and the best luck I've had, there's a little opening here and there's a tiny opening here. What happens is you create a vacuum. If you put the tip of the glue inside the bottle, I found that it creates a vacuum, and then what happens is it overflows, kind of like a volcano. And I'm sure there's a scientific reason for that, but it escapes me at the moment. So what I do when I'm filling these, and I don't know how well you can see, but I keep the glue that I'm filling it with away from the tip of the bottle. Okay, and it's nice and thick. And so sometimes I have to stop. So you can see it clogged already. And okay, this is the first time I've had that happen. Maybe because there's no glue in, or there's no, and if I just break that air bubble, there you go. It'll go down. It's really thick because it's cold in my office. Well, heck, normally this works. Oh, there we go. I got it. I think I got it to go. And it'll suck it down. Anyway, I just hold it up on top and let it drip in. And it drips down to the bottom. That's how I fill it. I don't put the tip all the way in because that's when I have it overflow. So that's my method. This bottle is almost empty, which is why I had it upside down like this. It's easier to fill it with a full bottle. But that's my method. I just kind of let the glue drip into it. Another question I had was how I get some of the glossy elements. And I've got a couple samples right here, how I make it glossy. And I do it two different ways. One way is, let's see, I've got one here that's not done. Okay, so here you go. These, let's see, am I in frame? These two are just die cuts that you can color them if you choose to, but I just put some distress ink on my work surface like this, and then I sprayed a little bit of water in it, and then I took my die cut and I tapped it in, and I did that with a couple different colors. These I think are scattered straw and rusty hinge, and I used ink rather than oxide because of the oxidization. It doesn't really matter. You can use spray, you can use anything you want. You just want to get some color on there. And then I use an embossing pad, a clear embossing pad, and it doesn't matter which one. VersaFine works great, but this one works great too. And I will take my dye or whatever I'm glossying, and I'll use one of my bone folders and I'll push it down in there to get a lot of ink on the top of it, right? So I've got a whole bunch of ink, and I'm not going to heat emboss because I'm just not. You don't need to see me heat emboss. And so once I've got that covered in ink, I use Seth Apter Vintage Beeswax. This is not the container that it came in. It came in a bag, but it's Seth, S-E-T-H, Apter, A-P-T-E-R, Vintage Beeswax, and it's by far my favorite, and it's embossing powder. And then I sprinkle it on, and I use my tweezers to hold it and tap it off, and then I use my heat tool to dry it. And the image you get when you're done is this kind of really pretty glossy. And then they were just a little too flat for me, so I used some of this Stardust spray. Again, same idea, sprayed it on my work surface, tapped it in, and then let it dry and put more embossing powder over the top to seal it. And that's how I created these leaves on top too. That's how I got the color for these. Now this, I did not use the stamping pad. I just used this, and you can see here, this on the flowers here, this is what it looks like just flat, and here is what it looks like with the Seth Apter Vintage Beeswax. So can you see that? It kind of just gives it a really different dimension, just one more layer of texture and color. And so that's how I get that done. That's how I accomplish that. Now, the other question, or another question I got was, how do I put the Nouveau Deluxe Crystal Glaze on without making a blob mess? I did it up here. I used the Nouveau Deluxe Dot for Hedgie's little eye. I use this often, and I really, really like it. So I grabbed a couple pieces so that I could show you the difference. I don't know why I grabbed that, because there's nothing on it. Oh, here we go. So I grabbed this one. It's been decorated, right? And you can see I've used glossy accents here, but I haven't done it on this side. And this is just, one of the scrap buster items that I make. So I thought we would do it this way. And you can see on Oh, no, I didn't do it on that one. Oh, I grabbed it. So you can see on here, I've used the Nuvo Deluxe Crystal Glaze on here, and it's dried completely. It gives it a little bit of a shimmer, a sheen. It makes it more 3D. And I used it on just pieces of the butterfly. I used it on the butterfly's body and then on some of the spots on the wings, just to give it a little bit more texture. Here, this one has both. This is the bottom one with the label is the Nuvo Deluxe Crystal Glaze, and then the die cut is the Seth Apter Vintage Beeswax. So I pulled that in there so you could see both. On this one of the ones I did last time, here is the Nuvo Deluxe Crystal Glaze, and here I used the Nuvo Deluxe dots to give the yellow centers to the flowers so that you can see just, again, a little bit of texture and a little bit of dimension. Same idea here. The glaze and then the Nuvo Deluxe Crystal Glaze on the label and on just pieces of the butterfly's body and wings. So here, this is Nuvo Deluxe Glaze, and this is the whole Seth Apter Vintage Beeswax. So it's a little bit different look. This is a little bit more ruggedy and ripply and a little bit more texture. They're both shiny, but they give you a different finish. Same thing on this. I just put some of those glossy dots on the top to give my little bouquet a little bit more texture. And again, same exact idea. Seth Apter Vintage Beeswax on the die cut, and then just a light coat of glaze on the label. And I will show you how I do that. So this one I chose, and I'm going to zoom in just so you can see just this piece. And this is the last thing I think I had to answer. I'm going to show you what I do. So here I want maybe those little dots on the butterfly's wings. Now every once in a while this will clog up, and because I'm showing you it'll probably clog up right now. But if that happens, just get a stainless steel pin and put it in the tip. So I just use, see, because I'm on video. Here, I'll just use the one from my glue. And it just, it's a really fine tip and it dries up, and there you go. Just prime it with a pin. Now I've got to put it back in here. Okay, there we go. All right, and then I just use small dots. I just use a little itty bitty dot on each, and that gives me the dimension I want with those dots. And now I'm going to put it on the butterfly's body a little bit more, and then when that dries, I'll have a really cool effect. And then do the same thing. I just do a really light coat back and forth over the label. It takes a little bit to dry. The more you put on, obviously, the longer it takes to dry. Also, the more you put on, the more likely it is not to give you the individual dot look that you want. It gives you more of a globby look. Because it does spread and it does run together. But it does take a little bit to dry. You can heat it with the heat embossing tool, but it gives you a little bit different finish. So I just let it air dry. I just put it aside so I don't stick my finger in it. And yes, I have stuck my finger in them many a time. All right, so that's that. I think that was all the questions that I said I would answer, and sorry for the delay again with that. And it'll be probably a week or so before I get to the next step of the Stamperia Forest, simply because my granddaughter's coming over and she is at the perfect age to have fun and play, but not while Grandma's crafting, or almost crafting. So thank you for watching. Happy creating, and take care.